Welcome to Florida Agribility's first quarterly webinar of the year, Assistive Technology, What You Need to Know Across Agricultural Specializations. Florida Agribility is a partnership between the University of Florida IFAS Extension and the Center for Independent Living of North Florida. Agribility is a program sponsored by the U.S. Department of Agriculture that aids farmers, ranchers, other agricultural workers, and farm family members living with a disability. The main objective of the Florida Agribility Project is to assist farmers in overcoming barriers caused by disabilities and health conditions to continue farming. Just a few housekeeping items for you all this morning. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website for later viewing. Drop your comments or questions in the chat and we'll be sure to read them at the end of the webinar. We will have an evaluation poll at the end of the webinar. This is just for our evaluation records to make sure you're getting what you need out of our webinar, so be sure to fill that out. So let's get into it. Today we have Ned Stoller. He is a certified assistive technology professional and agricultural engineer. Since completing his degree in agricultural and biological engineering at Purdue University in 1997, Ned's mission has been to improve the quality of life for farmers and skilled trades workers with medical conditions. He has been the engineer for Easter Seals, Michigan Agribility since 2003 and is the developer of disabilityworkconsulting.com. We'll drop that in the chat below as well. To help people find assistive technology, work with tools and methods to minimize physical pain, improve safety, and enable workers. Ned, thank you so much for being here today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about assistive technology today and want to make sure that everybody knows what that concept is. And I kind of live in this world along with my farming habits that I can't seem to break. Right now is maple syrup season just getting started in Michigan, and our family is pretty heavily involved in that. We also have 150 laying hens, some milk cows, and a flock of goats that we're working on together. So agriculture and assistive technology are my worlds. And so when a person has a medical condition or an illness or injury or disability, a lot of times the tasks that they need to complete are impaired. They can't do what they used to do. So assistive technology is any tool or method or product system that helps a person with a disability do their necessary tasks. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, is just give you a splash view across agriculture of different types of assistive technology that could help a person with a medical condition to be able to keep working. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of examples. Some of them are high tech and very costly. Some of them are low tech and simple that you can build in your garage. The lift in this picture can go up 12 feet and reach over 14 feet and help a person who's unable to climb to access anything from a blueberry harvester to a combine or logging equipment. It is mounted on a flatbed pickup truck, and Life Essentials is the company that manufactures this out of Brookson, Indiana, and they install them and deliver them all around the country. The rear view cameras are very, very useful. Magnetic cameras that can look into a green wagon. They can look behind a tractor that when you're baling hay. They can be used to watch all sorts. They could be watching lambing pens for livestock. They enable a person with mobility impairments or low vision to be able to see when it's difficult to get to the spot. The modified tools for a prosthetic arm that can be just clicked in and out instead of a prosthetic hand or another terminal device. You can put in different wrenches, you can put in a comb, you can put in a fork, you can use all sorts of mechanic tools for someone that has an amputation on their hand. And then the track chair in the bottom right hand corner is a huge go-to for mobility on rough terrain all around the farm, through the snow, sand. It can go to the beach like nothing else, and go on trails. A lot of the state parks in Michigan have these available now for people with disabilities to access their trails. So we're going to talk about if you have a disability and you want to know where do I find a piece of assistive technology that could help me, the agribility.org website has a page called the toolbox, and it has hundreds of different tools that can be assistive technology to help a person with a disability keep working on the farm. It's divided up into these major categories that you can see here: crop and materials handling and storage, livestock handling and housing. I spend a lot of time in that section here in Michigan, along with the shops and shop tools. I'm just jumping through a few of these highlights. Skid steer loaders and self-propelled equipment, tractors and combines. We do a lot of assistive technology in those arenas. And the toolbox, you can jump to the different categories, and then they give you subcategories to choose from. There's also a search function. You can just type into the search bar. If you want something to help you with your pickup truck, just type in pickup truck, and it'll come up with a whole bunch of adaptive aids for pickup trucks. So the AgriBility program is funded by the USDA, and so AgriBility hosts the site, and we screen the AT items. Basically, they appear to be useful, but every single item has not been tested and guaranteed that it's going to work for your specific condition. There's a whole lot of variability in this. But the toolbox has enough information to give you a concept of what might help you, and then you can go from there doing more research if it is going to be the right thing for your farm or not. The whole process of evaluating and assessing the farm and deciding which piece of assistive technology is best is a whole nother topic to work through. But for today, we're just going to look at a bunch of assistive technology options. I actually spend a lot of time on Amazon and Google searches. They're wonderful for finding agriculture tools and adaptive aids. The Gemplers catalog and the Northern Tool catalog are some of my favorites for just seeing what's available. When there's new tools being developed, they show up in these web pages pretty quick. So there's a lot of sources for assistive technology. Now, not everything that's assistive technology looks like it at first. It might be like that tractor seat there in the top left corner of this slide. It could just be a more comfortable seat for somebody to use. Or if a person has a back injury and they're unable to sit on the current operator's seat on their tractor, and it's really just making it impossible for them to work, a new tractor seat might be assistive technology, because an air ride or a new suspension that works, or cushions that help the person balance better or fit in the seat better, might be what's necessary for that person to continue doing their work. So something that appears to be a standard piece of agriculture equipment, a tractor seat, in those cases is actually assistive technology, because it's enabling their need so that they can return to work. AgriBility also has a number of publications that are available on the website. These Plowshares articles dig in and get real specific on different topics regarding assistive technology. So this is one on building a lift, using lifts on your farm equipment. If you can't climb and you need a platform lift or a chair lift to get into the seat, it's a real good publication, and you can find that on the agribility.org website. And this is one specifically on back injuries for farmers. And there's several on the topic of arthritis, because that's one of the highest disabling conditions that we work with in AgriBility. So this is an example of a farmer here in Michigan who was needing a support to hold his spray wand when he was spraying his orchard. And so we just made a simple bracket that pinched underneath the seat of his golf cart that he used for spraying, and it holds up the weight of his spray wand so he can drive with one hand and spray with the other. Accommodating weeding can be done with a tiller. Really like the plastic mulch that keeps the weeds down right around the plants. It decreases so much of the need to use a hoe, and it takes more time and maybe expense at the start of the season to lay the plastic mulch. It's usually done with a machine, but then throughout the course of the growing season, it's a huge assistance, along with the irrigation that can go under it. So this also accommodates watering. This is a lower end lean tomato system in a greenhouse that allows the tomatoes to grow up, and most of the work is done between your knees and shoulders. You do have to be able to reach up and slide the tomato trellis wires along a cable at the top. It requires some climbing to do that, and lifting with the shoulders. So that's something to think about with assistive technology, is sometimes it accommodates one thing but requires more abilities in another area. But we can usually match assistive technology in an appropriate way. But trellis tomatoes, growing up twine in a greenhouse, can be a very accessible way for somebody to work. And there's other assistive technology for moving and actually lowering and leaning the vines that we could talk about also. This is for going to farmers markets and selling. This is actually a wheelchair lift that someone put in the back of their box truck, but you can see that they have the lugs full of vegetables sitting on a rolling furniture dolly, and in the background is their cooler, where once they bring their vegetables in and wash and pack them in these totes, they can roll them straight into the cooler on this dolly, and when it's time to go to market, they roll it back out of the cooler onto the lift up into the truck, and they don't have to lift and carry these totes full of vegetables at all until they get to the market and display them on the table again. So from the time that they're washed and packed until the time that they're displayed on the table, there's no lifting and carrying. This is another going to market situation. Normally in Florida, you don't have to deal with snow. And normally when we're going to markets in Michigan, we're not dealing with snow either. I took this picture out of season, but this grower has a trailer with a ramp on it, and he picks his fruit right into the display baskets, sets the baskets onto the carts. The carts can roll up into this trailer. He pulls it to the market, the farmer's market, rolls the carts off, and they are the display carts at his booth at the farmer's market. So from the time he picks the fruit and puts it in the basket until he sells it, he doesn't have to lift that basket again. Oh, and he has a winch up at the front of this trailer that he can hook onto the cart and pull the carts up into the trailer using an electric powered winch. We do lots of digging and lifting. Walk behind skid steer loaders can be a really good accommodation for somebody with a disability, because they can dig, they can have pallet forks for moving materials around on pallets. They can get into small spaces and clean out livestock pens that would otherwise have to be done with a pitchfork and a wheelbarrow. So I really like the walk behind skid steer loaders. They're fairly costly. They actually a lot of times cost almost as much as a regular larger skid steer, but they can get into very tight spots. To accommodate climbing, this is for picking pole beans, and I really like to recommend these stairs with handrails on the sides and a platform at the top. It's a lot more safe and stable for a person with leg impairments that needs to climb, instead of a step ladder. And there's usually a little bit more slope to the stairs, which makes it a lot more convenient also. And my client that received this set of stairs actually had fallen off of his step ladder several times before this. So I was really thankful he was able to obtain this. Automatic drinkers with floats instead of dragon hoses. And this is a frost-free drinker in Michigan. So dragon hoses in the cold weather is really difficult when the hoses are freezing up. And so lay in a water line underground where it's not going to freeze or just not going to need to be mowed over or moved all the time is a great accommodation for somebody, whether they have mobility impairment, problems with their legs, or upper extremity dragging hoses and handling hoses. So buried water lines and hydrants or automatic drinkers like this can be really good accommodations for a disability. If you have livestock, trying to catch the animals to work on providing veterinary care can be a challenge. These are self-locking headlocks, and they can be purchased in sets of 4, 6, 8, or 10 for your different sizes of your farm. So you might not have a whole bunch of cattle and a great big long feed alley like this, but there's smaller options. You can buy hay feeders that have these self-catching headlocks so that you just pull a lever, and when the cattle come up and put their heads through to eat, it automatically latches and holds them in place. So if you're doing artificial insemination for breeding, or you need to give vaccinations or anything like that, it'll automatically catch your animals for you without a big rodeo chasing them around. Raising strawberries in a greenhouse, getting the strawberries up off the ground so they're at waist height instead of crawling along to pick them is very helpful. And the automatic watering systems, drip irrigation, can reduce the need for you to walk along with a sprayer wand, dragging hoses along through the greenhouse. Once again, this is a project that's going to take you more work to set up. But once it's set up, you'll have to do regular maintenance, but it's not near as much work as the everyday or several times a day walking through the greenhouse with a watering wand. To accommodate a hand injury like carpal tunnel or arthritis or trigger finger, the electric powered pruners have become a really great accommodation for pruning in the orchards. This variety here it costs about $2,200, $2,200. You wear the battery on a backpack. It's definitely a high quality commercial tool. It can do 8 to 10,000 cuts a day, just pulling the trigger. There are much lower cost options for smaller orchards, smaller needs. We've actually had pretty good success with the $200 imported electric powered cordless pruners on Amazon. And so it's 1/10 the cost if you don't have a huge orchard and you're doing a smaller project. I actually have had good success with those. Moving firewood around, maybe this is more of a Michigan thing than a Florida, but stacking things, this example is not just for firewood, but really anything that you can palletize. If you can get even fuel cans for taking fuel cans around the farm, stacking them on a pallet instead of lifting and carrying them. And then if you have loader forks on a tractor or a skid steer loader or a walk behind skid steer, you can lift and move the pallet where it needs to be instead of lifting and carrying with your back. And a lot of times lifting and carrying when somebody has a disability is a primary concern, because if you have an arm impairment, you only can carry with one arm. If you have a leg impairment, it's hard to carry things and not stumble and not balance and not be able to balance. If you have a back injury, bending down and lifting things quite often exacerbates that. So palletizing materials and moving them with a tractor or a cart or something is really a good method to think through. It's the assistive technology mindset of there's a different process or method to do this than bending down and lifting it up and carrying it by hand while I'm walking. I know that you have a lot of hay in Florida and beef producers. And so I really like the grapples and accumulators when the hay baler goes through the field to leave the square bales in clumps of 8, 10, up to 15 bales at a time, and then grapples on a skid steer loader or tractor that can pick the clump up all at once and set it on a hay rack. This is a situation. Round hay bales are so much easier to use than square bales, but I monitored one of my farmers and watched him work. He stepped on the clutch 8 times to unload one round bale with his tractor as he was coming up to the wagon and lifting it off, backing up and going and setting it in the row. And so thinking about hand control levers for a clutch lever and making it easier to climb on and off the tractor at all, we think about that a lot. Modifying the tractor steps, you see how high this person has to put his foot to get onto this tractor. And if a person has a stroke and they can only really balance well with one leg, it makes this impossible. And stepping on that clutch so many times. So we look at hand control levers for clutch and brake pedals, and then added steps to accommodate this on the tractors. So this is a John Deere 4430 tractor. It has a set of aftermarket tractor steps. Tractorseats.com is a nice website for lots and lots of aftermarket variety tractor steps. The bottom step on this is a fold down step that I invented and have plans for online. It's on the toolbox, but it flips up and down with a rope. So you can see the yellow rope hanging there. The farmer climbs the steps, pulls the rope and flips that step up, and it sits on the next step above it, so that if someone doesn't need to fold it down, they can use this tractor normally. But if a person has a knee or leg impairment and they need the lower step, it's available there to flip down and up. This farmer also has a vision impairment, and so that is reflective tape on the bottom step so that he can see if it's up or down in the bright sunshine. These are some homemade tractor steps, probably not as safe as these aftermarket ones, but in agriculture, we make things work sometimes. So this is a combination of plowshares, broken ladders, and pieces of strap metal from the farm shop welded together, and it works for this guy. This is a beehive lifter. This one is actually manufactured in Hungary. There's a company in North Carolina that makes them now, and in Poland there's a lot of different varieties. We have a set of plans on the toolbox available for building your own for about $300. It's not going to work as smooth and nice as the $1,500 commercial variety, but there are ways to lift and move beehives without straining your back so much. The benefit of this is if you need to do an inspection in the brood box, you can lift the entire stack of supers above it all at one time without straining your back. And then you can do your inspection and then roll it back forward and set the stack of supers back on. So this is a really nice accommodation for beekeepers. Once we have better steps to help somebody get on and off of their tractor, or a lift to get into the tractor, we need to help them stay in the seat. So here we have an example on the right-hand side of a spring-loaded drive-through gate that a tractor can drive through. The gate flexes open. It's all electrified to keep the cattle and calves in, and then it swings back shut after the tractor is through. So if you're feeding round bales, you can pick up the bale, drive through, and put the bale on the feeder without ever getting off of the tractor. If you remembered to cut the twine off of the bale before you picked it up. This is an electric powered wheelbarrow. They come in all sorts. You can get them for $500. You can get them for $1,200. You can get them for $3,000, depending on how heavy of loads that you need to carry. It actually ends up being sort of like an outdoor walker, because the person who owns this has muscular dystrophy and challenge with his feet and staying balanced while he's walking. So he can load this wheelbarrow up, hang on to the handles and push the forward switch, and it helps him have something to hang on to. Instead of him needing to push the cart, he can just walk with it. This is just raised beds, bring the crops up to you so that if there's a leg or back impairment, you don't have to get all the way down into the dirt. Lots of different ways to do it. Tables and container farming can be a good option for that. This is another example of trellising. We saw earlier the trellises with the twine and the lower and lean systems. This is bamboo trellises planted. The crops are planted right into the soil bags. No need to worry about weeding in this system, and gives a nice, keeping the tomatoes up on the trellis. He can sit down on a cart and roll between the rows and do his work on a cleared floor. Another example of the trellis tomatoes. These will use, I'm sure you're familiar with it in Florida. It's called the Florida weave. When you have a stake between the tomato plants, and then as the tomato grows, you weave twine around it, zigzags around the poles, the wooden stakes, and kind of cradles the tomato plant between the twine. And this can be done in the field. It's more commonly done in fields than in the greenhouse environments. These are floating rafts. That these tanks are filled with water with a small amount of fertilizer. The styrofoam raft floats. Lettuce plugs are planted through holes in the styrofoam. The roots draw up nutrients out of the water beneath, and the lettuce is perfectly clean. When it's time to harvest it, you pull the raft off and just pull the lettuce out, package it in a bag, and it's ready for sale. You don't have to wash it, and it's ready for the consumer to use. These tanks here are individual tanks, but you can also make a very long, narrow tank that you start the plants at one end. Say every week you would start another set of plants, and at the other end you pull a raft off and harvest. And so it's just like a continuous flow conveyor of floating rafts that by the end of 6 weeks, the lettuce is ready for harvest. It can be a very accessible system for someone in a wheelchair. Whatever materials you can find, here around Michigan, there's a lot of dairy farms, and we can get the plastic pieces that are cut off of their silage piles and use those as weed barriers to keep weeds down. You have to have a drip irrigation underneath the plastic, but it saves all of that effort of weeding like we talked earlier. And this can work on a garden size scale. Probably if you're going to be raising in a field, you're going to be buying the plastic mulch layer like we saw in the earlier slide. This is just looking at how to raise beds on a production scale. This farmer raises dahlias, and he used barn siding and fence posts. He has about 2.5 feet tall raised beds. They are 3 feet wide so that he can reach across from either side, and he can plant, he can prune, and he can harvest from either side of the raised beds. And he filled it with organic matter and then soil over top. This is just an example of a homemade cart for getting down low to the strawberries in the field. There's plans for this one online. Another example of sitting down low instead of kneeling and crawling. This is a commercially available crop care. It's called a picking assistant, manufactured in Pennsylvania. You can work in a prone position. You drive it with your feet forward and reverse, steer it with a hand tiller. There's storage racks for full flats of berries. You can put solar panels on the top for shade and also to keep it powered up. Very, very nice piece of assistive technology. Costs in the $5,000 range. This is a combination of a bed that's raised a foot high and a simple roll around cart. You can buy these at Lowe's and Home Depot, Menards, or online at Amazon. These sit and scoot garden carts are very, very handy for lots of things, even working in the farm shop, or I've had people sit on them to work with small livestock, maybe while they're uh, clipping goats or working on feed or something like that. This is a quick sketch of a new invention. Normally at Agribility, we don't design and build new things, but we try to find something that's already available on the market. But this client of mine had a need to be able to drive around his fields and raise and lower his seat so that he could stand up or sit down. And so this cart that we built on the top right allowed him to do that. We used small ATV wheels, uh, electric motors to drive two of the three wheels, and a steering tiller in the back that he can steer with a switch on the armrest. This farmer had Parkinson's disease, was a veteran, and so we were able to help him be able to keep working in his fields without kneeling down, crawling, and walking. Using long tools is another way to keep from needing to bend down. This is a homemade stand-in plant. You can buy these stand-in plants from Johnny's Tools and other places online, or you can make your own with some PVC. You can just jab it into the soil and drop a plant through the top and then tap it down with your toe. Transplant vegetable plants without kneeling and bending and crawling. This is a robo handle. It can clamp onto any tool and allow you to work with a long handled tool with one hand very effectively. This is a Velcro grip glove for a person that has a hand injury. If you're holding a tool for a long time, like a set of loppers or a hammer or a shovel, you take a hold of the tool handle and wrap the Velcro strip around your knuckles, and it pinches, and it will actually hold your hand very firmly in a fist, even if you don't have the strength to squeeze yourself. I was going to mention that the QR codes shown on some of these slides will link you directly back to the agribility.org toolbox webpage, where you can learn more about these different products. So this robo handle that we had before, if you notice there, the person is able to squeeze that handle and keep their wrist very nice and straight. We have our full grip strength when our wrist is straight. If we have to twist our wrist like this to be able to hold on to a hoe handle, we lose 50% of our grip strength. If you want to try it right now, twisting your wrist minimizes your strength. Keeping it straight like this. So quite often, just putting a 90-degree handle like shown here on a tool gives you full strength to hold on. Anti-vibration gloves will also help someone that has weakened grip strength. It will also help to prevent vibration is one of the four major factors in causing carpal tunnel and wrist and hand impairments. And it's the low frequency vibration, like from a diesel engine on a tractor steering wheel or a pickup truck steering wheel, that will have a big effect on those kinds of musculoskeletal injuries. And so these anti-vibration gloves dampen that vibration and will improve your hand health. High frequency vibration, like a chainsaw or a weed eater, it's not good for you, and it makes your hands feel all tingly and funny. But just beware of the low frequency vibration of those steering wheels, and be aware of that. So when you have a hand injury and difficulty gripping things, having a larger diameter handle so that you can squeeze something larger will also make it easier. And so this is pipe foam insulation that you can buy at local hardware stores for covering pipes from water heaters. And it's very low cost. It makes a nice tool grip on small handles that you have to hold on to. You can tape it into place with electrical tape and it stays in place quite nicely. This is a device, once again, to help a person use a long-handled tool with one arm. Here you can see it's a slicer knife that allows someone to keep their wrist in that neutral position for full grip strength. If you work maybe in a processing plant, or if you butcher your own animals or cutting meat, this can be useful. Or if you're doing canning of vegetables and you're doing a lot of slicing, having a right angle handle on your knife blade, or if you're processing fish or anything like that, a nice handle like this could be a benefit. Talking about mobility, this is an example, once again, of a piece of assistive technology that you might look at and say, that's just a four-wheeler. Everybody needs a four-wheeler. Well, before this person had a leg amputation, he could walk up and down his flower rows all day long. He could bend and kneel and do all of those things. He could walk and carry crates. But with the disability, his mobility was impaired when he lost his leg. And so this ATV became assistive technology. He had to have it to be able to get around his farm and his fields. And so ATVs are very helpful. Sometimes they have to be modified with hand controls if it's a foot shifter or brakes, make sure that the brakes work. And an ATV like this can be a challenge for some people to be able to get their leg up and over the seat and straddle it. And so a side-by-side utility vehicle with a bench seat can become a better assistive technology option in those situations. And we work with a lot of those with our growers here in Michigan, because then you can carry things around in the bed of the side-by-side, fixing fence or hauling materials, whatever it would be. Very, very nice piece of assistive technology. Here's another picture of the tractor that we saw on the first slide. And this is a lumberman here in Michigan. I know you have a lot of lumber in Florida also, harvesting the pine trees. And so this allowed him to get out to his logging equipment, and then he had a lift on his log forwarder. He could move logs out of the woods and keep an eye on the other people that were doing the cutting and the different processes in the woods for him. So it enabled this logger with a spinal cord injury to keep working. This is a greenhouse cart, and once again, it serves as an outdoor walker for this person. She can use it for balance. She can load water buckets for her poultry flock, pastured poultry. She can take feed. And we eventually talked about hanging a series of chains around the edges of it so that she didn't run over the chickens with it, because she had low vision also. And so she was able to use this for mobility and lifting and carrying things. These are available. There's a Global Industrial website that has these garden carts. They have 10-inch wheels, pneumatic casters on them, so they can roll across grass and rough ground and go in and out of doors because they're narrow enough. So it can be a very nice accommodation. I thought of this idea when I was in the grocery store and I saw an older person leaning on their shopping cart and using it like a walker. And I thought, boy, if only shopping carts had bigger wheels, that'd be really nice for my farmers. And then I came across these greenhouse carts, and bingo, that was the deal. And then 2 years ago, I met a new client who had had a traumatic brain injury. And when I got there, he was using one of these for a walker, and his physical therapist had set him up with it like 10 years before, and he used it every day to get around his farm. And I thought, that's confirmation. My idea was a good one. It really is playing out. So we try to make practical recommendations as much as possible. So it's good to know when somebody's using these assistive technologies successfully. This is another example of the strawberry tables inside of the greenhouse, and how the flooring in the greenhouse, it's not as good as concrete, but it can be accessible for someone in a wheelchair, more so than the soft dirt outside. This is a plastic mulch lifter. So the plastic mulch is wonderful for during the growing season, keeping the weeds down. There's machines for laying the plastic mulch. It can be a really big project removing it. And I had to learn that the hard way with one of my clients, that I helped him get all the equipment and set up for everything he needed for plastic mulch to control the weeds. And he called me that fall and he said, "Ned, now what do I do?" So we had to go back and help with this type of equipment for removing the mulch. This is a greens harvester. It cuts lettuce using an electric drill for power. So instead of a person using a scissors, available from, it might be just called the Quick Cut Greens Harvester, but you can click the QR code if you need to. These are handles to help grab hay bale twine if someone has impairments with their fingers holding a small twine like that. For cow-calf operations, being able to bring a calf in from the pasture and having the mother follow can sometimes be a challenge. So this is a way to do that with a reach hitch on a pickup truck or a small trailer. And this is a calf catcher. So sometimes the mama cows can be fairly belligerent when we go out into the pasture to vaccinate the calves and ear tag them right when they're bored. So this device mounts on a ATV or a side-by-side utility vehicle, and the farmer can drive up and catch the calf, pull a lever, and the gates shut around it. And then the farmer can enter this small pen through the side, actually weigh the calf, process the calf, and release it without the danger of the mother cow attacking the farmer. And the farmer doesn't have to run and try to catch a calf. So someone with a mobility impairment can do this task. This is a crowding tub and alley. The headlock squeeze chute is not on in this picture, but that would be the next thing at the end of the alley. And this is for bringing in large groups of cattle and pushing them through. It keeps the worker on the safe side of the fence. A lot of times when we have a mobility impairment or aging, being able to move quickly on the rough terrain is not possible. Most of the larger cattle producers are already going to have a setup like this, but we've found through our research in Michigan that injuries caused to farmers by livestock is 60% of the injuries, the farm injuries in Michigan. And so it's usually a smaller producer, maybe with 10 to 20 cows, and it's just not financially feasible to spend $12,000 on a nice cattle working setup. And so they're catching them behind gates and trying to work with them, and they're getting hurt. And so if someone already has a disability, the likelihood that they might be injured by their cattle can be high. And so I recommend cattle working systems quite a bit for my producers here in Michigan when they have a mobility disability. This is a safe knife for cutting twine, a nice handle on it, someone with a grip impairment. Small dairy producer that's carrying milking units to the cattle and plugging into pipelines can use a trolley system like this to carry the milker units and supplies throughout the barn. for the different cows. This is basically a ride-on manure cleaner for poultry barns, and it's got a sweeper. There's different varieties of equipment like this. There's small scale silage wagons that the producer can ride on, and it'll auger the feed out to the cows in a dairy barn without him needing to push a cart and use a pitchfork. So these are just a whole assortment of assistive technologies that I wanted to introduce you to here today. And I really want to encourage people to accommodate before it's too late, because farming is hard work. And a lot of times the farmers want to work as long as they possibly can. And they're usually pretty busy and don't get around to taking care of their health. And they don't ask for help, maybe until their medical condition has become so severe that they have to quit doing some of the things that they really love to do. So seeking medical help is sooner in the game is really wise before the condition gets too worse. And then uh, accommodating with assistive technology. If your goal is that you want to farm for another 10 years, now is the time to start planning for that. Taking breaks, modifying your activities, changing your positions. One of the best things for our joints is to rest. And the farmers say, well, I can't stop and rest in the middle of my day. Well, that's not necessarily what has to happen. You could just switch and use the other hand. And you say, yeah, but I'm right-handed and it goes so much faster. Well, do you want to work another 10 years or not? If if you could change your position and work with your left hand, and it might be slower, but you're still getting something done. And you just do it that way for a few minutes every half hour to give your other hand a break, get the blood flowing back through those joints and tissues better. Uh, those types of, I'll call it assistive technology, just different ways of doing things, will make a difference in enabling you to continue doing your work for longer and feeling better. Another thing to pay attention to is stretches. Like if you have a hand impairment and you can stop, like let go of your pruner or your tool every half hour and just stretch your hand back, and uh, talk to a physical therapist or occupational therapist. They can advise you in what kinds of stretches could help you alleviate your pain and enable you to keep working. Quite often, it's a matter of bending your body back in the opposite direction from where you're primarily working. So if you're in a bent down position, picking vegetables, you know how good it feels to stand up and bend backwards. So just being purposeful about those stretches can make a big difference in your ability to keep working. So I just want to encourage you, it's not necessarily always about the tools, although the tools play a big role. So those are the slides that I had to share, and I'm open to take questions and have conversation with you here for a few minutes, however you see fit.
Thank you so much, Ned. We are going to go ahead and do our poll very quickly so you guys can get any questions that you need in the chat. We will give you a few minutes to do that, so be sure to do the poll and drop your questions in the chat, and we will get those to Ned. Okay, we're going to give you about 1 more minute to answer those questions, and then we're going to answer. Ned will be able to answer your questions as well, and we can answer these other questions in the chat. Okay, just about 10 more seconds, and then I'll let you guys off the hook. Okay. All right, so I'm going to read these questions that are in the chat. And if you have anything you want to add that needs explanation, if I didn't ask the question correctly, feel free to hop on and let us know. So I'm going to read them in order as they came in. We have a question that says, can you explain the glider seat through the rows?
I was going back through my slides to see if I could tell which slide that was referring to. Was it about weeding and picking vegetables? Is it this picture?
I
I
believe
think,
that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, go ahead. I'm sorry. If you keep going, you're close though. I think it was like a white background of rose. Maybe I missed it. Or maybe you know better than I do. Oh wait, they had a question about that too. I keep going. I'm sorry.
This one?
No, sir, that's not it. It
What
was
did
about the rows. How you like how it's accessible. You can sit on the chair and you can go up and down the rows. Yeah, that's it right there. I'm sorry. The one with the guy standing up with the cane, I believe.
there?
Right there. Yes, sir. Now you said they put the chair in the middle of the row and they just glide up and down?
Yeah, he uses one of these, just a set and scoot.
Oh, okay, okay. And then could you go back to that last picture you just moved it from? The guy was laying down? Yeah, that's awesome right there.
Yeah, it really is. It's a marvelous accommodation. It works well for green beans, and it's really designed for the strawberry industry. That's where it shines for
Mm,
sure. It has
just
adjustable
remember
width for
that.
different size of rows.
That's awesome right there. All right. And now are we able to get this recording on through email?
Yes, this webinar will be recorded. It'll be posted on our website, and then every participant here today will receive an email that has a link to the recording as soon as it is live. Thanks for that question.
All right, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here. All right, Ned, we have one more question, or we have a few more actually. How much of your adaptations have been off the shelf technology, and how much has been customized or modified for the individual?
I would say 75% is something off of the shelf that gets adapted a little bit for the individual. And probably 20% is something off the shelf that just works dandy the way it is. And 5%, we just can't find anything that'll work, and we start from scratch and make something.
Great, thank you. We have 2 more questions here, guys. If you have any other questions, be sure to drop them in the chat. Are there any assistive technologies related to soil mixing and moving for use in a nursery?
There are a lot of tools for that, for large scale nurseries and greenhouses. And we have helped some of our growers access that kind of equipment. Uh, there are some like composting bins that you can turn with a crank that can be made to be power turned. I would have to do research specifically. Probably the first thing I would do is go on to uh, the toolbox and go to the vegetable section. I don't know if you can still see my screen.
We
Can you see
can, thank you. Yes,
that I
sir.
went to the toolbox? So I would go here to probably vegetables, small fruit and flower production. Greenhouse and shade operations. Maybe seeding. Quite it. We'll try this category.
Hi, I just want to I always want to ask that question because I work at a nursery that employs adults with disabilities,
Okay,
and we're looking to switch from bagged soil that we mix by hand in tubs to a bulk soil that will likely save us lots of money, but we are struggling with that change in routine that will kind of incur on our operations and how we can kind of
okay.
work with our staff to create a system that isn't, I don't know, too hard for our staff to kind of handle. I've seen different, I like the idea of using a motorized compost turner. I like that idea. We kind of considered cement mixers, so I think that's kind of in line.
Yeah.
But partially we're trying to figure out how would we get the soil into the mixer? Is it using large shovels, or how are we going to get it? We have to have this bulk pile kind of separated from our potting shed area. So how can we get the soil from the pile to our potting area? And also we're going to have to mix in the fertilizer as we go because we can't have it pre-mixed. Otherwise it will just degrade over time. So it's kind of been an ongoing
Yeah.
interesting experiment with trying to I've done some research. I've seen different say like drop down sides that you can work with them, but I'm looking for some way that we can integrate the mixing and the moving to streamline our operations. So if we do make this change, we're hoping to make this change because it'll save us about, $14 a bag of soil.
Wow.
But we want
That's
to
a
make
lot.
sure yeah, it'll come to about like $2 for the same amount of soil that costs us like $18 a bag.
So I just went, there's a search function in the toolbox and I did a search for the word soil. And so I'm just browsing through to see what I can find. I know that there's growers in Michigan that have small conveyor belts that take soil up into tall mixers. It's going to depend on the scope of your operation if that would make sense. Otherwise, different ideas for how to get the soil into the mixer would be if you have any kind of a hillside or something that you could have the mixer down lower and the worker up higher, and you could, or maybe a platform that you would stand on to fill the mixer, and then down around the other side you could be at ground level to empty it or something. I'm just kind of brainstorming, and I mean, we could go and do a Google search for small scale soil mixer. See what comes up.
I just stuck one in the chat, Ned. There's a website called Bonanza, and they have like a 4-in-1 cultivator soil tiller that you might could stick in there just to get it mixed around. I'm not sure if that's the intended use, but I think that it may work.
Here's a Google search. You're getting in on how my brain would go. I would go check the toolbox first. Oh, nothing jumping out at me. Let's do a Google search. Here's a Stilt Pro potting machine and tray filling. Maybe they have a mixer. But this is the kind of thing I think Lindsay there in Florida or others could probably help you with specifically. Come see your operation, exactly what you need, and continue on with this research. But thank you for the good question. I appreciate it. And
Yes,
I'll keep
thank you.
thinking about it. If I come across something, I'll email it to Lindsay.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for just talking through it. It was helpful seeing the process.
Okay, we do have one more question for you, Ned, if you have a moment.
Okay.
Do you know any data collected that supports the importance of taking breaks throughout the workday for farmers? In my experience of working with them, I have found they often are more likely to listen when there are some numbers to support what I'm saying.
I referenced a publication from North Carolina, and it was in the greenhouse industry. They had a really nice training video and PowerPoint on ergonomics and stretches and changing your environment, like how you're using tools and things. I will have to look that up, but maybe someone there in Florida would have information on that also. But I can see what I can find, and Lindsay, will you keep in touch with me on that? Maybe you already have something from Florida too.
Yeah, actually, I don't remember any data, but the recent recommendation for heat stress, heat prevention effort, they recommend us to take a break every 15 minutes to have some little break, resting, and for drinking some water. That's really important. Other than that, I'm not aware of any data.
Lindsay, do you have record of who's asking these questions so that you can follow up with them
Yeah.
later if you and I talk some more?
She is our student, so we have that.
Got it. Good. Okay. Yeah, I'll see if I can I'll try to find that publication from North Carolina because it was pretty good.
Mhm.
So,
Okay,
all right, sorry.
wonderful. Thanks, Ned.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ned, we do want to thank you again so much for being with us today. I know that we all learned a lot and are so appreciative of your time. Be sure, guys, to check us out on our website, where you will find this recording, and follow us on social media. Thank you all so much for being here today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, Ned, very
Good.
much. Thanks everyone for coming.